Hey there, uh, this is Heidi from DIY Nails by Moi, and I have a very small problem. I'm basically the fry of a guppy in a pond the size of the Atlantic Ocean, um, as far as being a YouTuber, influencer, that kind of thing. As of today, I have less than 50 subscribers, and please understand, I'm not complaining about that. I love each and every one of you, and thank you for subscribing. And I appreciate when people take the time to hit the like button on a video that I've made, that have subscribed, that have hit the notification bell. I know I don't put out very many videos. There's reasons for that, but right now I'm just really concerned about something that has kind of been bubbling inside of me since I joined this community. Thank you, Rich Lux. Um, I'm a middle-aged woman heading towards the other end of the line that we never want to talk about. I have health issues. I have chronic pain issues. I have mobility issues. I've been through a lot of crap in my life. I've been through a lot of counseling when I was younger. I've been through secular counseling. I've been through what would be referred to as religious counseling. That is, counseling received through a religious source. And Joe Schmo down at the local bar spewing his version of mental health while he's slinging back his beer and chasing it with a shot of fine old whiskey or whatever he's drinking. Sorry, I grew up in a bar. You're going to hear references to that from time to time. But I'm really getting concerned about an issue that's of importance to me on a personal level. If you wanted to give me a bunch of diagnoses, you could. And I could probably fit under probably a third of the DSM manual if you really stretched it. A lot of it goes back to my childhood, which led to me making some poor choices as an adolescent, which led to more poor choices as an adult, which led to. I mean, there's a whole train behind this old caboose still chugging up that hill. But what I'm having an issue with is how much bad behavior of influencers, gurus, drama channels, commentary channels, review channels, whatever kind of channel you are naming your channel. Mine's called DIY Nails by Moi because that's what I was when I started the channel. And I don't have enough subscribers to be able to change the name on that. And at this point, I'm not sure if I even want to. Do it yourself? Well, I do most stuff myself that I can. Nails by, well, yeah. And when I do fingernails, they're nails by moi. And that's the point. It's DIY by moi. Doing my life myself. Whether it's nails or hair or makeup or cobbling together something to keep my bed from sinking through the floor until we get the floor fixed. Yeah. I've been diagnosed. I've even been put on medication now and again. I find that for me, natural options, behavioral modification options, work far better than pharmaceutical options. But that's me. And I'm not about to sit here and say to anyone else, well, if you get depressed in the wintertime, start taking feverfew. What's that going to do for me? Well, you won't get very many headaches. What? No, you don't take feverfew for seasonal affective disorder, which is one of my labels. That's St. John's wort. But that's a whole other thing. The point that I'm making by saying that is you can say anything about anything to anyone for any reason, but if you don't have anything to back it up, then you're just flying on the gas spewing out of your exhaust pipe. And some people just happen to have a lot more hot air to blow than others. Now, most people will say I have got plenty of hot air, but I'm a storyteller. I get together with just one-on-one with somebody or a group of people. I tell stories. But that's how I grew up. We would sit around and tell stories. We didn't watch a lot of television. We didn't, we played board games, we played card games. We learned how to ballroom dance in the kitchen and dining room. We read together. We, studied about various subjects and topics. My father was a natural teacher with a 6th grade education. And my mother was pretty sharp when it came to the numbers. So between mom and dad and the whole, that's how I grew up. I told stories just like I'm doing right now. But that's the point. We each come from different places. Even identical twins. And I've known several sets of identical twins. And fraternal too, but, even identical twins aren't identical if you get to know them. If you just have a superficial relationship, yeah, it's easy for them to fool you. But if you really get to know them individually as people, there's differences, and you can definitely make that out. Because once you're out of the womb, that's the end of the identical stage. From that point, environment's going to act on each individual psyche and each individual body as it is. But I am hearing so many people talking about this individual has this condition or has that condition. And my first question is, are you a licensed counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist? Are you a mental health professional? Have you had education in this? Have you, been supervised and gone through field work and, done your student work? And, do you have that? Or are you just talking out your exhaust pipe? Because if you're just talking out of your exhaust pipe, you're the problem. And you're dangerous. And you should not be allowed to have a voice to spew that. I'd be the first one to say that. It is dangerous to tell somebody, this is what's wrong with you, this is what you should do, if you don't have the cred to back up what you're saying. If you have the cred, be my guest. I stay out of it. But if you don't have the cred, you got no business being in the ball game. If you're used to playing basketball, that doesn't going to give you a heads up in playing field hockey, even though you're dealing with 2 nets and balls and a playing field. It just doesn't work that way. Football and soccer, which all around the world soccer is known as football, unless you're in the United States. But they're 2 very different games. So if you're a soccer player in Brazil, does not mean you're going to be a great football player in the United States. And that's not even counting rugby and a bunch of other games that are played with balls and people running up and down the field and scoring goals. And if you happen to be into fan fiction and Harry Potter, Quidditch. Which I still think would be awesome to watch if it could really be done. You're not going to get into a Formula One race car and win the Grand Prix just because you've been playing Grand Theft Auto, every edition thereof that's ever come out. It doesn't work that way. You can't understand how to run a household by playing with a dollhouse and not having the steps in between of learning how to budget money, learning how to prepare food, learning how to keep a home clean, learning how to work seasonally, learning how to work within, the bubble that you have built. And then you have perhaps a significant other. You have to add that into it, perhaps real children. You can't just put into a little bin and pull a little blankie over and say, "Night, night, little Susie," and click that little LED off so her room is dark and she's asleep. Because little Susie's going to wake up in an hour going, "Hey, I want a glass of water." Susie, go to sleep. You had a glass of water before you went to bed. "I'm thirsty." Dum, 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 dum. Flick. Shh. Dum, dum, dum. Here's your water. "It's not water from the refrigerator. I want water from the pitcher in the refrigerator." I'll stop. Because I'm going to start laughing in about 3 seconds and it's not going to quit. But that's parenting. It's not all about the I got an A on my spelling report. Mom, I graduated top of my class. Reality check. This needs to stop. Some very well-respected people in YouTube land, Instagram land, Twitter land, Snapchat land, Tumblr, wherever, are talking about things that they don't have the expertise to talk about. Just because you're a drug addict doesn't mean you know the other drug addict's story. Just because you got straight or you got sober because of this, this, and this doesn't mean those same things are going to work for this person. 12 steps don't work for everybody. Hey, tell that to Bill, but after a dozen years of that under my belt, I realized it wasn't working, and I had to walk away. And my life was far better after that. But I'm not knocking the 12-step programs. Believe you me, they have saved so many lives and had such a positive impact on relationships, individuals, marriages, families, children, you name it. So I'm not going to knock it. It just didn't work for me in the long term. In the short term, it was great. It got me through that period of time where I had no idea how to make my wings work. I couldn't fly. You threw me out of the nest, pluck, I was on the ground, and I became prey. But once I was able to fledge and once I was able to fly, I had to leave the 12-step nest so that I could soar. I already told you I have seasonal affective depression. That means, because I live in Wisconsin, and we have lesser and greater amounts of daylight depending on the season. And your pineal gland in your brain receives this information, and it fine-tunes, or it's supposed to fine-tune, your system to compensate for that. Behavioral psychologists say that's a holdover from some ancient stuff. Well, I'm not going to get in an argument about that, but I just think we're put together the way we're put together for a reason. And in my case, seasonal affective disorder causes me to sleep a lot, have no energy, lack of motivation, lack of desire. my creativity goes. Um, I will change my nails and take videotapes every 3 days from April through October. But come November, December, January, February, March, not so much. And I used to take a medication for that. But the side effects of that medication, to me, were worse than the issue it was trying to solve. So I detoxed myself off of that medication, found a natural alternative that works for me, got a correct dosage of that works for me, and works with my other medications that I take, and it works for me. I'm not going to tell my next door neighbor. I don't know if my next door neighbor has it or not, but for example, I'm not going to tell my next door neighbor, oh, you have that? Well, this is what you have to do. You have to do this, and then do this, and do this, and you'll be fine. I'm not a qualified therapist. I'm qualified to take care of me, but I'm not qualified to take care of them. I don't have a shingle out on my door. I don't have a license in my pocket. I have no right to say anything about it. If they happen to ask me what I do to deal with mine, I can share my story. Thank you, 12-step groups, for that. And possibly by sharing my story, it will get them on a pathway to receiving the help that they need, which is not going to look the same as mine. They may be taller, shorter, fatter, slimmer, male, female, other disorders, no disorders besides that. It could be anything. They had children, they didn't have children. Yada, yada. But diagnosing people in this medium, I would call that practicing without a license. I don't know what the laws are in the area that you live, but I live in Wisconsin. And if you are caught doing counseling, anything to be considered psychological counseling, stuff like that, aside from actual certified counselors, licensed psychologists, licensed psychiatrists, the only other group that's allowed to do any kind of counseling are ministers, pastors, priests. And they're only allowed to counsel within the realm of their scope of influence, within the realm of their religion, which, yes, covers a large territory. Point being, Joe Schmo down the street, who does not have a license, is not certified, and is certainly not a priest or a minister, pastor, he's not qualified. He's not qualified to tell you anything. I don't care if his great aunt Ethel went through the exact same thing you're going through. That was his great aunt Ethel. You're who you are. And it takes a lot more than watching some videos of another person's antics on YouTube. Just say they've got this, that, the other thing. And it's wrong. It's unethical. And it's dangerous. Give you a short example. I had a very good friend when I was in college. This gal was an amazing, amazing person. 3 children, single mom, divorced. Father took off to parts unknown, not receiving any child support. Worked 2 jobs. Went to school full-time. The only reason she could do that and afford it is her mom and dad would babysit for the kids. But this gal had a history of suicidal ideation and clinical depression. And when she told me that, I was like, it was like January. I said the dumbest thing I could have ever said. So does the time of the year affect it too? And she looked at me and she said, I never thought of that. I hate to admit it, but I got a call from one of my instructors a couple of days later that I needed to call my friend's parents. Okay, I didn't think anything of it. Because there've been a couple of other things regarding study issues. She and I usually were in the same study group together. And this was before cell phones were so popular. So I called her parents. I talked to her mom. And her mom said that my friend was under care at one of the bigger mental health institutions in the area. And I was like, what happened? Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. Like, so what has she said? I mean, she survived the attempt. She tried to slit her wrist, but Dad caught her in time, and they were able to get her into the ambulance and all that fun stuff. Well, apparently she heard about some depression that only bothers people in the colder months of the year when there's not as much sunlight. Oh my God, did my stomach hit the floor and my heart right after it. I actually said on the phone, oh my God, she did not. You have to understand part of the education we were receiving, which was in occupational therapy, was psychoses, abnormal psychology. You know, we used the DSM. I think we had the DSM-V at that time. I wasn't trying to diagnose her. I wasn't even trying to give her an answer to her own issues. Just a simple comment on what I was going through, which was maybe a 30-second back and forth, wound her up back in suicidal ideation. Which is a really bad thing if you've got 3 little kids and you're a single mom. And Child Protective Services get involved. So quit it. If you're not a certified counselor, if you're not a licensed psychologist, a licensed psychiatrist, or a trained priest, pastor, minister, stop diagnosing people over videos on YouTube or any of the other social media. You ain't qualified. Neither am I. For those people who are listening to this, watching this, if you have someone in your life that you believe has some sort of emotional, psychiatric, something going on with them, encourage them to find help. if you can get together some resources, some leads on, whatever may be available in your area to help your friend, that'd be great. Support your friend. Listen. Be a shoulder to lean on. Help out where you can. Yeah, sure. I can watch your daughter for a couple hours this afternoon while you go to the group. Not a problem, as long as it's not a constant. It becomes a problem. You know what I'm talking about. As long as it doesn't become a dependency. Put some groceries in their house. Invite them over to your house for a meal. There's lots of things you can do to help and support somebody who's dealing with some sort of mental, emotional, behavioral, psychiatric, psychological, whatever terminology you want to use, issues. I just call them life issues. And that's all you should do, whether in person or via this medium of the internet. Because you're going to get clapped back. And it's going to be harsh. And depending on where you live, the content of those videos that you have put out for the whole world to see can be used as evidence against you for false practice. Maybe not in a criminal way, but in civil court, a family could sue you. The criteria are very different. You may not be behind bars physically, but should be behind bars financially if it goes that way. I'm just saying. So, that's all I have to say. And I just want to thank you for listening. And please be a person of peace wherever you are. As usual, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video, watch my other videos if you want, like those. I'd really appreciate it. Peace.